you'd returned home at that stage, but often there's a follow-up treatment that's required, either chemotherapy or radiotherapy. Did you have to have any further treatment?
Yes, I did. I saw the doctor and he said they'd removed, I was lucky, they'd removed all the cancer. It hadn't gone to my lymph glands, but just to make sure, they'd do a course of chemotherapy just to zap, they were his words, just to zap all the cells, just to make sure. So I took on a course of 6 months chemotherapy.
6 months, was it?
Yes.
Quite extensive then.
I could have done a trial, and I still now I don't know. It's a personal thing.
You offered a trial.
I was offered a trial for 3 months. In fact, a few of my family wanted me to do that. They said, why go through 6 months? But I was determined. I thought, if I'm going to go for chemotherapy, I'd feel happier in my own mind if I did the 6 months. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It was just a personal thing. I just wanted to...
Presumably there were 2 different drugs that were offered, one in the trial, one in the standard care.
Yes, there was. But with the trial, you would be monitored, probably more so.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Than if you were, and there would be follow-up afterwards. But I just wanted to do the 6 months. I didn't want to do a trial. I don't know would I do it again. I'm not sure, but I just wanted the
It's a very
full
hard
6 months.
decision to actually decide whether to engage in a trial or not, because the trial's often a randomized controlled trial, which means there's 2 options on offer. And the randomization means you might get option A or you might get option B, and often you don't know.
That's what they said in the leaflet, and I was like...
Now, when you have standard care, the doctor will give you the best treatment that they think you require at that time. So you see how the decision is actually very difficult. The trial drug may not be totally proven in its success, which is why it's being trialed. So it is actually, but then again, it's probably the latest thing. So you can see why it's a difficult decision.
Yeah, I didn't make the decision. It took me a while to make that decision, actually. I didn't sort of think, oh no.
No.
But no, I wanted the 6 months.
But regarding the actual chemotherapy, did you attend on the chemotherapy suite, and was the chemotherapy as a drip or as a tablet?
Initially, they put a PICC line into my arm.
Yeah.
Which, for some reason, I didn't really like. I don't know why. It was like, it felt... I had to call it an alien. I don't know. It was okay. I got used to it.
Yeah, so this is a permanent access to give you drugs during that period.
Yeah. You can't see it. They put a bandage around it.
Yeah.
But you're aware of it all the time. I used to put a plastic bag on. Showering was fun. You used to have to wear or stick the arm out the shower.
Yes.
But you, like anything, you know what I mean? You adapt to it.
Do you remember your chemotherapy regime?
Yes.
What was it, as far as you can recall? I know it's hard to remember all these names.
It was it was called, abbreviated, FU, and they said just remember that. So that was that drug I had. And no, it was fine. Weird symptom though, you couldn't go near the fridge or in a supermarket. You had to avoid the freezer section if you could, because it gave you a tingling.
I see. It altered your sensation.
Yeah. But apart from that...
That's actually quite a common change into the processing from the neurons in the arms and legs.
I used to forget. I used to go in the freezer to get some food out and go, forgot. It wasn't a horrible feeling. It was just like a tingling.
Have that all the time. That
really?
Change in sensation. Dysesthesia, they call it.
Oh right.
And you had a second drug as well?
Yes. They took the PICC line out because of the sepsis I had when I went back in. They didn't want any infection. You very rarely get infection from a PICC line, but they didn't want me to be back in hospital again. So I had tablets, which were amazing because I didn't have to go I just had to go collect them and then bring them back and take them at home. So... Do
you remember the name?
It was Capacitine, C-A-P, Capacitine, I think.
Yeah.
I take a lot of them. There was like 3 massive tablets and then 2 small ones. It was quite a lot of tablets to take. But from then on, I never looked back really.
Okay. And what was your experience of actually receiving the chemotherapy?
The first time, my husband came with me and then left because they're a bit short of space in there, to be honest. And I'm quite tough, really. Well, I didn't know I was tough until I've been through all this, but I said, no, I'll be fine, just come back for me later. And the staff are amazing.
What do you think of the environment that it's given, the chemotherapy suite?
Oh, it's lovely. Lovely. I mean, it's not like a hotel. Well, no, it is. They're lovely. The staff, obviously, they're trained differently to other nurses. I think you've got to be a special kind of nurse to work in that.
And how many hours did you go for each time?
It was about 2.5.
Because some people really stay a long time.
No, it was about
day.
About 2.5. But the first treatment, I remember, I was like, oh, and I was a bit, not weepy, because you can't, because people are all around and they're like just, you know, being really strong. But I remember thinking, oh, you know, do I really, how's this going to be? But I was fine. Okay, gave anti-sickness medication. I thought, this is a doddle, so I can cope with this 6 months. But after a few days, the tiredness and the sickness
started to kick in.
Yeah. But then again, I got some, not obviously all sickness meds suit everybody, but I got a brilliant one. And I can honestly say, I carried on with my normal life, really. Shopping, tiredness is the main thing.
What, just to clarify, during the chemotherapy, that 6 months, you were able to carry on with your normal life during that period?
You get the odd day. I mean, the nursing stuff, you said you might take to your bed. I can honestly say I never took, but that's me.
You resisted it?
Yeah.
Even though you were fatigued?
Yeah, but in the end, occasionally, my husband used to call it the afternoon sleep. I used to watch a bit of daytime TV, have lunch, and then just stretch out on the sofa. And I might sometimes sleep for an hour or 2 hours, and I'd be like, ooh, hi, I'm back, you know, and then I'd be back to normal again.
Did you try and do your regular activities during that period where you're having the chemotherapy?
I was, I mean, neighbours used to say, what are you doing? And I'd be like, no, I'm fine, I love walking. I find it very therapeutic.
Yeah.
So I used to do a lot of walking. I was anxious to get back to my dance class because I used to do a lot of dancing in my youth. She wouldn't have me back until I got a note from the professor. Yes. So that was understandable. So and to be honest, some days I didn't really feel like doing the Charleston or the jive or whatever. No. But
did you go back then during that period to dance class?
Yeah.
Because that's quite remarkable, showing that early improvement within that 6 months.
Psychologically, it made me feel better.
Definitely.
Dancing, any form of exercise makes me happy. For others, it could be crochet, embroidery, taking the dog for a walk. But for me, it was dancing and music.
Yes.
In fact, sometimes I used to just put music on in the house and do a bit of a jig.
Well, plus you're back in the kind of real world, aren't you?
Yeah.
And doing things that are
mixing
not
with people who necessarily weren't, you know, poorly.
Yes.
Who weren't on chemotherapy. And that was nice just to be, you sometimes lose your real self. You know what I mean? I wanted to be the old Lesley. I was always hankering for how I was before, and you sometimes lose yourself in amongst all that treatment. But no, it was amazing to go back. And people were really good. And she wasn't easy on me. She just used to say at the start of the class, do what you can.
Yes. Please
don't, you know, overdo it.
So looking back on that time, if you were to have to face chemotherapy again in the future, touch wood you won't, but just if you did, could you see yourself going through that again?
Yeah.
You could face it. Because that will give people encouragement watching who have chemotherapy to come.
Well, I know what I'm like now, and I've gone through it.
Yeah.
And hey, I'm okay. The hair thinned a bit.
Yeah.
I used to have hair, didn't fall out.
Okay.
But it did go a bit thin.
Yes.
And I was conscious of it, so I was thinking of having a different haircut anyway.
Yeah.
New lease of life, so to speak. So I just got the hairdresser to do a short, and I'll probably keep it short now because I prefer it shorter.
Were you self-conscious about the change in your image in relation to the hair?
Not at all. I think the only thing in that time was I maybe lost a bit of confidence. I didn't drive for a while. I got so used to the husband being like a taxi service.
Yes.
And driving me around.
Yeah.
And it's probably only now that I'm getting the confidence to get back in the car and go and see friends.
Yourself.
He'd been dropping me off, which he'd never done before. He became a carer.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really happy with that.
No.
So I'm at this stage of my life, and I'm a lot more confident.
That's good.
A lot